5, a town hall special from ABC4 News. America in Crisis, a positive path forward.
A life cut short.
Ya no tengo vida, siento que no respiro.
Bernardo Palacios Carbajal fatally shot by Salt Lake City police officers.
Drop it! Drop it!
The shooting and released body cam footage sparking protests through the streets of downtown. The deadly shooting ruled justified. No charges for the officers involved. A decision made by Salt Lake County District Attorney Gill.
We declined to file criminal charges against either officer for his use of deadly force.
In its wake, more protests. Gallons of red paint poured onto the street and splattered across the DA's office. Tagged explicatives, windows shattered. The demonstrations deemed unlawful by police. These scenes becoming the norm, played out on electronic devices throughout the world. But where do we go from here? Could the DA have done more? Or is state law preventing justice from occurring following deadly officer-involved shootings? Questions we answer in tonight's America in Crisis, a positive path forward. All right, thank you so much for joining us tonight for this special ABC4 Town Hall. I'm Brittany Johnson, and joining me tonight for this half-hour special is Salt Lake County District Attorney Gill. Gill, thanks for being with us tonight.
Happy to be here.
All right, so we have a lot of ground to cover tonight, and we're going to talk more about the Bernardo Carbajal case, but I do want to take this step by step and start first with the process of officer-involved critical incidents. Now, can you tell us about your process? When the police tape comes down and investigators leave the crime scene, what happens next?
Right, so what happens is the host agency, which is involved in the shooting, invokes what's called the critical incident protocol. And what they're really doing is to bringing in outside agencies. There are 3 teams, so they don't self-investigate. So this team responds, and they gather the initial scene data and information. And we also embed a district attorney investigator as well to make sure that the process is being followed, and that if there's any additional questions that we can have that. They spend their time trying to gather all that information. And once they gather that information, then it's presented to the district attorney's office for that initial review. And at that point, they share that information with us. We take it, we receive it, and then we start to go methodically through what they've given to us. And if there's something more that needs to be done, we ask them to follow up. And sometimes they will do that. Other times we will have our own investigators go through and follow up with that material. And once that has been compiled and brought together, then we go through the factual analysis, the legal analysis, and gather all the forensic evidence. We have group sessions that discuss these issues with multiple lawyers. And then we apply the law to the facts and then come up with our conclusion, which then we will write it completely out, which we publish, in which we list the state law. We list the evidence that's been gathered. Then we list what the witnesses said to us, go through our analysis, and our conclusion is based on that. And then we present that in a formal presentation to the community to share with them what we have. And then we publish that report for the community to be able to take a look as well.
So I want to talk more about your 2-step analysis that you have. How do citizens know it's not a biased process and that each case is based on the same analytical process each and every time?
So that's a great question. So, we don't have an interest in one side or the other. So we start with the facts that are presented to us. And we go through the same process. And sometimes, people will say, hey, this is just a very simple, easy thing to do, but we're very deliberate in that process, as I outlined to you. And then we do that repeatedly every time, concluding with the publishing of that report, in which we lay out again, here's the law, here's the evidence that was gathered, the facts that support this. Here is the legal standard. Here's our ethical standard that we have. Should this be found to be unjustified, what we have to go through to the filing of charges. And so we have a 2-step process, which is we go through the justification analysis under the law, because in the state of Utah and in many states around the country, law enforcement officers can use lethal force as a part of their duties. And so we have to make sure that does it fit in that. If it doesn't fit in that, and it's unjustified, then we will go through a second process, which is now we say, okay, what is the conduct, what are the charges that are available, and what is the quantity and quality of the evidence that we have to articulate these criminal charges, and can we carry our burden of proof in the prosecution like we would in the filing of any criminal case that's brought to our office for filing.
Now, we'll talk more about that Utah law in just a second here, but right now, I want to talk to you about the time this process takes. Why and how was Bernardo Carvajal's decision made a lot quicker than many of your other cases that you screened? And is this rate of process actually sustainable for future cases?
That's a great question. One thing, we were very sensitive to what the community was concerned about. So we knew there was a lot of community interest, so we wanted to respect that. And so we moved this actually ahead of the queue. Usually what our normal process is that as they come in, we sort of keep them in sequential order of when they happened. And if there's other things that we need to follow, we will continue to do that. And in this case, what we did is that we expedited because we had a request from the mayor. There was concern from the city. And so we said, that's fair enough. We will go ahead and do that. And so we moved it ahead of the list of the other officer-involved shootings that are pending. The other thing to keep in mind also is that when my administration came in, that we took on this extra work in terms of the transparency, the analysis, because that's not what the process used to be. My predecessors would literally give a 1 or 2 sentence statement saying that we reviewed it, it's justified, and leave it at that. So we didn't get any additional resources, we didn't get any additional prosecutors or additional investigators, but we took on this extra work because we felt that our community deserved to know everything that was how we went through it and to publish that. And so to answer your second part of your question, can we maintain the same kind of structure? No, I don't think we can without having some additional resources that are given to us because there are unfortunately other shooting reviews that are lined up that we have to be able to expend the time, the energy, and the same deliberate process regardless of what the underlying facts might be or how quickly people think that we might be able to resolve it because it's very straightforward. We go through the same methodical process in every one of them. And that is something that we won't be able to sustain because we don't have the resources for it. But we're committed to doing it as quickly as we can as we go through our process.
All right, we are just getting started here with the Salt Lake County District Attorney Gill. Coming up is Utah law preventing officer-involved shootings from being ruled justified. We dig into what the law unjustified. We dig into what the law says after the break.